Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, to all of you. Today we are going to start about our new, one more new concept which is related to the secure software systems. As you remember that we discussed about the multiple concepts, including about the risk assessment, threat modeling, and security requirements, and so many different things. And whenever we were discussing, we were always focusing uh, related to the security, software security, that how we can make our software secure. Just a quick recap that when we are discussing about the security of the software, so it means something different. When we are saying the secure software, it is something different. So what we are covering, our aspect is related to the secure software systems. So you need to understand means the clear difference between the security of software or software security and secure software. This is something a bit different from each other. Though they both have the security, but when we go in a depth, so we can understand that what is the core difference between both of them. So I can give you a quick brief on that. When we say that the security of the software are means software security, then it means like suppose if we have installed the different sort of the softwares on our machine, so how we are trying to make uh, or maintain its security by means installing so many different hardwares, different the softwares and different approaches and different policies and different procedures. So we we can make sure that our software which is installed on the machine that remains secure. The security of the software which is installed on our machine which remain means in a good security with a good security level. But when we say the secure, so if we just say means at the base level, the aim for both of them is the same. But here, when we are talking about the secure software, it means that we are supposed to make or maintain its security by following the standards or by doing the means inside going the inside by following the SDLC by means looking inside the coding or means making the coding in this way or making the design in this way or making the implementation in this way or making the software analysis and testing in this way so we can make sure that inside the software there is nothing which can be the vulnerable. So this concept is goes to the secure software. So I hope you understand the software security and secure software, what is the baseline difference. I can just conclude it very quickly for your easy understanding. When we say the secure software system, it means that for sure, as from the name, we both are related to the security, but that means that we are looking inside the software while we are developing a software, while we are designing a software, while we are testing the software, while we are implementing the software, or in a simple words, we can say while we are following the SDLC. While the security of the software, it means that once the software is built, following the secure standards, and after that, it is means that only the one aspect of the security is covered. But when you're installing, implementing the software on the machine, again, we need to keep maintain the security of our system as well as the security of our software. So for that, we need the external dependencies, external softwares, external means procedures and policies and the antiviruses and the firewalls and so many other things and even the network security and other things they come in action to make our means install software secure. So you need to understand that means baseline difference between both of them. So as you can see from here that we are discussing about secure coding standard because our module, what we are focusing from the day first, if you see that this is the secure software systems, our secure software engineering, our secure software development. So these means three names are almost similar, they can fit for your module. So that's why you'll notice that in each of the means session, we are focusing for the SDLC, and we are looking at how we can implement the security while we are developing, while we are generating, while we are creating the software. So this is the another means block from it. So you remember that we discussed that how we can manage with the threat model, how we can go with the risk assessment, and how and when we can means collect the requirements, and how we can analyze them, and what are the security requirements, and what are the secure architecture. These all things are, you can see that we are still in a way, still in a path that we are following to complete our software. So when we are done from the other aspects, so for sure, when we have a secure requirements, when we have a secure design, when we have means done with the modeling and everything, now the time comes so that we can start our coding. So when we start our coding, so again, means whatever the secure or security procedures or standards we followed before that, for reaching up to this stage, they are means the prerequisite. Now there are the further requirements, are means further necessary arrangements we are supposed to do while we are going to start this phase. And you know that the secure coding is without coding, software cannot be. It's only on a paper. So when we start a coding, then we can say that now we are able to see the software, how it is working. And after that, we can only go for its analysis part, and we can go for its testing and verification and validation and implementation part. So in this SDLC phase, when we reach here up to the state of the coding, so at this stage also, we need to consider the aspects of the security, that how to manage and maintain the security, or to keep the software secure, that what we are doing from the phase number one till today. So in today's model, we will discuss mainly about the secure coding. So when we discuss about the secure coding, most of us, or most of the people, they just understand that, okay, when we are doing a coding, when we're writing a program, so it's okay if it is functioning properly, if the functional requirements are done, non-functional requirements are done, and if it is fulfilling the means necessities and the requirements of the customers, then everything is done. No, that is not done. That is only the one part of the software is done, but the secure coding part is the most important. If we will be lacking from this part, then what happened? Then the things will be the same what you have done in your practical assessments, especially in your practical assessment number two, while you were trying to find out about so many different issues and problems. You were trying to find out about the different bugs, different issues, different vulnerabilities. So you need to understand, and you need to interlink these concepts with that how they are. I hope you understand in a very means right way. So now here we are supposed to do the consideration about the secure coding standards. Now what had happened? There are the different standards are there. Okay, internationally recognized, that we are supposed to follow. And what is your job as a security engineer here? Now, your job as a security engineer here is that not to do the coding, but you need to inspect the coding, inspect the code with whatever the software engineers they are doing. Then you need to make sure that that coding is actually following the international security standards. And you need to means verify that whatever the segment of the code, module of the code, whatever the APIs they are using, whatever they are making a part of your software, that is secure in a way, it means that it may not have any chance of exploitation. It may not have any means, it may not exist any sort of the vulnerability in it. Okay, so that's what is the important. So that's what you learn from your assessment number two. That you notice that there are so many softwares, so many websites, they are already implemented, they are already in action, they are already working. But when you try to scan them, and you find yourself, you came up with the means a great list that, sir, this is having this number of issues, high risk, medium risk, and so many other things. So that means that a major contribution from this phase was there also. That was not addressed properly. But we cannot say that 100% those things were there because only someone does not means taking care for this particular phase. But because maybe from all of the SDLC phases. So each and every SDLC phase is highly important. So that's what you are doing in your labs. That's what you have done last day about the scripting and other concept. That's what you have done previously about the SQL injection and these things. So this means that these things are these stacks are only possible in case if suppose the security are not means implemented or secure coding standards are not implemented fully. So now I hope you are able to understand very clearly that what is the importance of this, that what we are supposed to going to start. So with this note, we are going to start about our lecture. So you can see the at the means corner left down corner that this is the OWASP, which is the Open Web Application Security Project. That's the worldwide very recognized okay organization which available there with the recent and the latest software security issues and threats and also the other security aspects that forum is actually dedicated to the security things. So whatever we will be focusing, we will be means dedication with the dedication to do OWSP because we are using their data and we are using those standards and everything. So because that is always they are keep maintaining and keep means keeping it update with the industry, real industry issues. They are not means very few case studies, but most of them they are only the real issues what they are faced around globally. So now when we go that what we are supposed to discuss today, we will discuss means a couple of things. The most importantly, we will be focusing about the secure coding practices, input validation, output encoding, authentication and password management, session management, access control, and the cryptographic practices. So these are the means 7 points we try to divide our means lecture today's module that how and at what stage we are supposed to means taking care about the secure coding. So now I hope you understand that what is the secure coding stand I mean secure coding and what are the secure coding standards and what we are looking for within this module. So when we start, so where you can see from here, the secure coding standards are further means points at what stage we can see. So we can see that how we handle with the help of the code about the error handling and logging. How we see about the data protection. Now, what it means by the data protection? Here, the data protection, it means the data which contain in our software for what we are means doing our code. Okay, how we are means managing or taking care about the communication security and what are the means system configurations, what are the database security, file management, memory management, and general coding practices. For all of them, what are the secure coding standards? Are we following that or not? Did we analyze? Did we means make sure that each and every standard followed and we are at the right place so we can only give the means green signal to go to the next phase. And that is the job of the security. So now you can understand that what is your job. So you when you go through with the assessment, so you notice that in the assessment, it's mentioned that normally in the case studies that's considered that you are a security engineer, so a secure software engineer. So these are the cases to just let us know. So you can see that what is your job. Your job starts with the SDLC, all of the phases. So you can inspect and you can make sure you will be the one who will making sure that each and every phase of the SDLC is following the security proper standards. Going ahead. Now we will discuss about the secure coding overview. As we discuss that input and validations and output and the communication security, the data security, and the means module security and so many things. Saying is okay, something, but we have to understand, we have to please go in a deeper and see that what these things are in actual. So if we just have an overview, so you can see from these 3 points that we are saying with the first point that define a set of general software security coding practice in a checklist format that can be integrated into software development lifecycle. As an overview, how we make sure that these all of the standards we will be going to apply. So you as a security engineer are the means software security engineers are the coders who are writing a program. This is not a practice that they are means writing, they are bringing the code again and again, and then we are saying, okay, just go for this and go for this to go for this. So how to manage and maintain it? So in the companies, they follow the standards and then they have a checklist about means uh, the secure standards, and then they categorize them in the importance. And then that checklist is handed over to the people who are doing the coding. So when they are writing the code, before it comes to the inspection, they are following that particular checklist. That what they are doing, what aspects they cover, what the aspects they do not cover. Because that is the way that we can understand that we are going properly. And those standards are not one, two, three. Those standards are means in hundreds, and in some of the cases more than hundreds even. So that's why we cannot remember. As a human we cannot remember, so we have to have a proper procedure how we follow them. From second point you can see implementation of these practices will mitigate most common vulnerabilities. So here we are not saying, the point which is the important is that if we follow this one, we are not saying that we are completely mitigating the vulnerabilities. No, we are saying most common software vulnerabilities. Why we are saying most common? So do remember the point what I just shared with you. That means we are supposed to be following all of the standards at each and every stage of the SDLC level. So this is means not guarantee that if we are only going means as per the standard at the one SDLC phase and we are not considering to the others, and then at the end of the day we cannot say that we 100% remove them. That's why we are saying most common. Okay. Then the third point what it is, generally it is much less expensive to build the secure software than to correct the security issues. That is the known fact. You remember we quoted so many examples previously. In most of the, even we quoted for the one of the operating system. We quoted for the one of the two of the giant company means products. They came, they strive, they for their survival for 1 or 2 years, and finally they were not able to continue, so they discontinued their products. Why? Because of these things. Why? We are seeing for the giant companies, we are seeing for the giant companies, even including your Microsoft, giant companies even. So why we are seeing for the giant companies? It means that those giant companies, they are for sure, they are following the security standards, but somehow they were fail not to follow the means 100% security standards. So even though they were forced or they were not able to continue their product. So this is what a clear example that in case if suppose we will not take care about these standards, then what happen? Then the cost of the system will be higher and higher. For example, if we are designing a system which has the 2 million cost, and if it contain the issues, so for fixing an issue, maybe we will have more than a 2 million of the cost. And again, there is no surety that we will be successfully able to address them or not. This depends on the seriousness of the issues. Why we are saying like that? The same examples what we quoted about the giant companies like that. So it is not only the cost is involved, but it is involved reputation of the company, but it is involved the security, but it involves so many other important points. So this is highly important and we have to follow that. So this is the overview about understanding that why we are saying that secure coding is important. This is very important, but that is the only one phase of SDLC. But this is not only the few things, a lot of things you will see and you will be amazed about that. So going ahead, further about the means software security and the risk principle overviews, we may read the one by one because these are the very important points. So you can see that building the secure software requires a basic understanding of security principles. So why we need the security engineers? We already have software engineers, we already have project managers, we already have coders. Why we are looking for the security engineers? Because they are expert in their work. They are expert in their domain, but they are not expert. So first of all, until and unless if you will not understand these requirements, you will not be able to maintain them. This is the most important point. Then, what is the second principle? The goal of the software security is to maintain the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information resources, and to make sure that for whatever the business purpose we are designing, that will go accordingly. Next thing is the goal is to accomplish through implementation of security controls. The technical controls are specific to mitigating the occurrence of the common software vulnerabilities. Again, you notice here, previously as we were saying that we will be able to address most of them. And here is saying for the most common are the common software vulnerabilities. So I hope you understand the points. Okay. If you have any confusion, you can ask at any stage. Now, going ahead, from here we are starting. What we were saying that we coding practice checklist. So we are just means sharing with you the few, the sample. We cannot share because it is more than hundreds and thousands. But sorry. So, but we are just trying to share the few as a sample with you so you can understand it what these things are. So when we go for this one, so you remember that we talked about the input and output validation. So in input validation, you see how many things importantly are. So we need to conduct all of the validations, okay, for the client and for the servers as well. We need to identify all of the data sources and clarify that they are coming from the trusted resources. And if suppose they are coming from the untrusted resources, we have to know about that. We have to make the different zones for them. We have to see that how the databases are, okay, where and what level of security for them. We must know that there should be a centralized input validation routine. Whatever the input we are receiving, it must have the validation mechanism. And that is centralized and can be controlled from the one point to make sure that we are not missing even a single point. We must specify the different characters like UTF-8 while we are receiving the information. We must confirm about the validation failure rules in case if suppose validation is going to be failure, what could be the result? The result could be the rejection or a stop of the application or whatever it is. We must know about these all of the things. Okay, and we also must validate the request which is coming from the client side. We have to be careful about the validation at the input validation. When we are saying validation, this is about the input validation. Input validation, that what validation we are doing, going to means do or consider at the client level, and what type of validation we are considering at the time or at the level of the server level. We must know about the cookies, how we are supposed to handle them. We must know, we must handle what are the scripts and how we are using them, what are the Flash components, Flash player components, and what are the HTTPs and how we are using them. Like here, what it means by the HTTP, it means about the HTTP secure, SSL, and other things. So we need to verify means each and everything. And we need to validate data if suppose we are handling with the redirect mechanism, how we are handling. So as I mentioned to you that these are the only few simple one we means took it from the list. You just go to the means online resources and you just see that what are the secure coding standards input validation. Maybe you will find the a long list which contain in the file of the Excel and then you can be able to see that what these things are. So these type of the checklists are there. So we need to manage and maintain each and everything while we are writing a code for any block or for even a whole And that is our job. We need to make sure that these things are addressed. If some of them are missing, then we will be facing the attacks, issues, threats, vulnerabilities, exploitations. So these things we will be facing that what you are and means discussing in your assessments. So now you can see how your labs and assessments are actually what you are doing and how they are linked with this one. So going ahead, we try not to means maybe we are discussing only 5% maximum implementation here, only the important one. But there are so many. For only the means less than a 5% even, we took the examples for all of them what we discussed. This is just only for your brainstorming to know that how many other things are there. So the input validations further see that we need to validate it, what type of data we are receiving. You remember this is he is focusing relating to the SQL injection. You remember we discussed in the SQL injection how they are doing. You remember there was the some sort of the example we discussed initially that someone if it is using the minus value and if it is not handled in the data in the code, then maybe he can be credited and then maybe he will be able to means have the product as well. So we need to validate the data range as well. We need to validate the data length as well. We need to validate even the white list as well. We need to even manage about the spaces as well and any other special or specific hazards characters as well. So you can see there are so many characters are given here. We need to see that how we are managing for the null values as well. We need to see that how we are managing about the new line characters as well. These are actually not required for the functional requirement and for non-functional requirement. But these all of the aspects are required for the managing and maintaining the security of the software to keep it secure. If we will not consider these things, then the means whatever the hackers, whatever the people, they can exploit your software through these different ways. So you can see now how the SQL injection is working, how the scripting is working, how the other vulnerabilities are there, how the people they can means get in your software. So these all are the check what you are putting. Actually, if we don't, then these all are the weaknesses at the point of exploitation in your software. So you need to understand that what is the link of this with what we are discussing all the time. That's the most important. So you can see here we are discussing considering even from small level points to the means big level point as well. Okay. So sorry. So this is the most important point that what we are discussing. I hope that you have the screen. Yes. So going ahead. So these are the most important point that we are means considering. But again, as I mentioned to you, that we are just considering means less than a 5% just for your brainstorming. Okay, just to give an idea that what these points are. But when we go in a detail in depth that we can see it's a huge list. So now we are coming back to the output encoding as well. When we are getting the output, so how we need to validate, manage, and make sure that this is okay as well. So we need to conduct all encoding on a trusted system, for example, for the servers. We need to utilize all of these standards. Okay, we need to handle the output as well as we are considering the input as well. We need to encode the characters unless they are known to be the safe one. Otherwise, we need to encode their output as well. We need to means think on a very importantly about their contextually values and we need to sanitize them all of the output. Any untrusted output, any untrusted data, any query which is from for the means SQL or XML and LDE AP, which is known as the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, for any other protocol, we need to mark them, we need to know them, we need to have the means complete information about our output. So we need to make sure about the output encoding as well. Not only the input, but about the output as well. So we need to sanitize all of the output of the untrusted data to the operating system commands. We need to make sure, okay, that all of the aspects of the output encoding are intact. We need to make sure that the input validation, that's what we just discussed, a few, they are intact. Then the next is about the authentication and password management. Generally, if we say that the software engineers, they will say, okay, the software should be maintained, password should be maintained, it should be having this much length, it should be having the option of, if suppose you missed the password, so forgotten password, and it should be the different standards. But this is so many things we need to consider. Like, see from here, we need to, means first of all, we need to consider that what is the necessary information which needs the password. Even while we are inside the system, even though the user is logged in, we have to provide the second level of the password. We may use the multiple level of the password. Okay. So how what it mean? We mean, like suppose if you are using your means email accounts. So if you are using your email account, you cannot use your email account without providing your ID and password. Once you are done with your ID and password, you are using them, it's okay. But when you are going to the next level in your setting, you want to go to change your password or some other important information, again, the system will ask you your password, even though you are already logged in. The same level, if you are using a financial means applications, so you are already provided the login and everything. But when you are going to do a transaction or some important change in it, then again system will ask the password. Why this is asking the password to you? This is all comes under the password management. So we need to define that what pages, what transactions, what things are require the authentication and what level of authentication we are providing. Okay. And what authentication controls we are enforcing that they are supposed to. What password rules we are applying and what standards we are applying that how they can go. Okay. So this is in a very depth and detail. So we need to see all of the authentication controls should fail securely. This is the most critical important information as well. In case if suppose user is in between of the software and the user maybe wrongly is providing a wrong password. So what happened? System should not be quit or system should not be out system. So if system is quitting, if system is failing, so it should be failing safely and securely without interrupting or without means including the secret information in the log file. So we need to even take care at this level that we need to make sure that whatever means however we are considering and in case of successful, in case of the failure, in both sides we are supposed to means manage them in a proper way. So these all things are very important and we need to see that how we are means applying the passwords, where we are storing the passwords, in what format we are storing the means passwords. So because safety of a password is important, but what happens if suppose we are storing in our database all of the passwords of our customers or someone, and what happens if suppose that database or that table is hacked, so the someone can have all of the passwords. That's what is happening. Like what happened with Twitter, what happened with Facebook, what happened with means previously with the Yahoo. So the hackers, what they didn't try to means attempt the single or individual user password, but they try to attempt to the database and try to get the passwords of the so many users for those companies, and then they post it online. So this is not only the we are supposed to consider the security as the software, not from the user point, not from the software point, but from that point, from database point of view as well. We have to be careful of it. We have to have a sequential authentication mechanism or implementation. How user can come, how user can go, how user can apply, and what are the procedures like that. So I hope that you understand. These are the critical and most important points. So how we can use the HTTP post methods, how we can means see that invalid password and the invalid usernames, how we handle them. Okay, few of the things you are observing most of the time. Maybe you didn't means notice that one. Like suppose for your email, for your any of the critical system while you're using. In case if suppose sometime you forget your password, if you are inputting the wrong value, so you notice that what type of the message you are receiving. You are receiving a message that either your password or email is incorrect. The system is knowing that what is incorrect. System is knowing that either the password is incorrect or the email is incorrect. But in the message, it is not saying clearly to you. It's saying either the email is not correct or your password is not correct. Why it is? This is also one of the means part of the authentication and password management. How you as a coder means as a security engineer, you suggest to the coder that how to manage it. Why we are doing like this? Because we don't want to give him a clear message in case if suppose the hacker is there. He may not know that what is the incorrect. So he may be in doubt that what is incorrect. Maybe the email address incorrect or maybe the password itself incorrect. So that's what you remember. I told you that even with the log files, we are supposed to be careful to not pass any information from where the hacker can get the hint and then they can means it become easy for them. So these all are the things, and there are so many other things as well. As you remember that we said that this is the only the few sample things what we are discussing for your better understanding. So now going ahead, we need to follow the standards. We know, everybody knows as a security personnel, we know that the secure password is the when we can say the satisfied level of the secure password is the length which starts from 16 characters, and then it is maybe in a mixed mode. It has the alphanumeric characters, it has the special characters, and so on and so on. But we know as well that it is hard to remember the 16 characters as well. So the minimum level, most of the softwares and companies and everybody is suggesting us that we have to be at the level at least of the 8 password. So don't allow the password. Even you notice that there are so many sophisticated softwares. If suppose you change your password, they will not allow to keep your same password. And if suppose you are changing your password with the new password, and after 2 or 3 months, you again want to change your password, that will not allow to keep your previous to previous password, because they said that for 1 year you cannot use the same password. And then the systems, they force to the user the password expiry, because there are so many users, they use the one password and they never change. That become higher threat level. So we need to handle these all of the things, that how we need to manage. If suppose someone user is not changing the password, we have to force him. Okay, our secure code has to force him to change the password. And when we are passing, if suppose someone is forgetting the password, then we are sending him the password that is should be the temporary password only, and that can be work only for one time, and then user are supposed to change the password. And when the user is requesting that I forget the password, so we are sending a link for resetting the password. That link also may have the time period. It may not be active for all the time. Maybe within some limited time period, if user can change the password, otherwise the link should be expired. And also that link is only one time clickable. We may not maybe the someone get that link and then they can change the password. So there are so many aspects that we are supposed to cover. And in case if suppose the user is forget the password and they are keep attempting, we may not allow them. We may have handle that the user can go for the 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, whatever maximum. This depend on the needs of the software, severity of the software, what type of application it is. Then we can lock the system. So these all are the points, and there are so many other points as well. As you remember that we just said that there are so many other points as well. These are the only few points that what we just discussed, just to give you the insight for your brainstorming that what these things are. Okay, so these all are the aspects. When we control them, then we can only say that we are in a position that we can mitigate most of the vulnerabilities. So you can see from these things whatever the things we are discussing, they does not have any means link with the functional or non-functional requirement. What we mean by the functional and non-functional requirement, it means the workability, functionality of the software. So software will be working. But if we are not following these standards, then what happens? Security will be the issue. So I hope you understand that with what aspect we are discussing. Going ahead, because authentication and password is very important, so that's why we try to means add a few more informations about that. Okay, so now uh, what we discussed, like suppose you can see from the next point that if suppose someone is resetting the password, system may not allow them to reuse the same password. We must enforce that how means much duration the password will be remain there. Okay, and we must manage and maintain about the means about the cookies. So these all are the aspects that we need to follow. We must also apply the multi-factor authentication mechanisms. This depends at where we are. That like suppose what we discussed about the banking system and about your email system, when you are logged in and when you are trying to go to change the settings in it, then the system will again ask the password to you. Most of these sophisticated emails now they are means linking your for a security reason they are linking your means details with the other one, like suppose with your cell phones, with your devices, with your emails, with your phone numbers, like that. So you can receive a call, you can receive a message, you can, get the green signal to go from your registered devices as well. So these all are to manage the means password security, because password security and these things are highly important. That's why there are a lot of information and a lot of the focus on that as well. So now, after the password, session management is another challenge. Okay, so normally the coder they don't consider or maybe they means take it keep it up to the default values for the session management. But the session management is highly important and it helps us to manage the security. So if suppose someone is using the application which is not active for some certain amount of time, then why it is means kept open. So our system should force that it may go automatically to the logout position. Why? Because maybe someone can means logged in and forget to log out, and maybe the system can be misused. So we need to see that how login and logout functionalities are working. We must maintain that we must disallow the means enforced logged in, and we must consider that what is the session duration and how we are handling them. Even the companies they are means now handling even your dropouts, even your Gmails, even your Hotmail, even there are so many companies. If suppose we are living in Malaysia, we are using our machines, that's no problem. But when we change the other machine, the new machine, and we log in with the right password, so they are sending an email to us for the confirmation that we found that someone logged in with your account from this machine, from this IP. Just confirm it. Is this you? That is also come in the means password management. Okay, and the session management is as well as is important. So even suppose someone is changing his geographical location, again he is receiving the confirmation. So we need to manage these things. These are very important. If we will be lacking from these things, then we will be in a trouble. So in the session management further, we can see that how that if a session was established before login, close a session and establish a new session. We may allow okay, we may generate the new session identifier. Every session may we must have the means details about that. That do not allow the means concurrent login as well. That is also comes under the session management. Like suppose we do not allow the users that the user is logged using the multiple machines. Our user is logged in using the means laptop and using the means mobile as well, mobile device as well. So for example, if you just try for that, if you are using a financial services, you just go to the banking site, you logged in with your system from the machine, online system for your account, and at the same time you log in from your mobile app. the system will force you, a system will force you to means switch off or locked off your both of the sessions, and it will give you the message that you are logged in from the multiple devices. So you will be logged out from both of the things, from both of the positions. So these all are the security management aspects through software security, through session management. We need to be very, very, carefully handle these all of the things. Otherwise, now just see here what we mean. You remember when we start. So if suppose these are so many things and we are discussing only the 5% just for your idea about the session, about the password management, about the output management, about the input management. There are so many things. But see on the other side of the picture, if we are not handling these things, that means these are the so many points or so many what we can say the points which are the weakness, which could be the weakness of our software if we are not handling it properly. These all points, if they are not handled properly, then it means they all are, maybe they become the reason of the vulnerability. Maybe they can give the way to the hackers to be come in easily. So you need to see the both side of the pictures as well. So don't think that we are supposed to making this is making this stronger. But on the other hand, suppose we are not considering these all points, so it means at the same level, you can see that how much our system is weaker as well if we are not addressing that. So from this, you can understand that what it means and how it is important as well. So still for the session is continue as we discussed the password and session. They are the most important. Everything is important, input and output, but these are the most important because maybe this can give the direct access to the users. So we need to manage everything from the client side, from the server side. Okay. And if suppose if we are redirecting some of the application, then we need to know that how and what we are doing. We need to see that how we are using about the cookies, and we need to see that how we are using the what format of HTTP, what SSL, what TLS, and everything. We need to manage our session as well. So that is the brainstorming about your session management. Now further about the access control. So I hope that you are aware about the access control as well. So once any user is able to provide the login, correct information, then session is formed, and after the session now it will have the access to the resources. So we need to see that what type of the access control limitations are there, and we are supposed to consider for the users. So we need to use only trusted system objects to provide, to manage, to maintain about access. If, for example, we need to manage the objects from the server side, and we need to manage the sessions and objects. That's what we are discussing. Okay, and we need to have the authorization uh, decisions as well. So I hope that you understand what is the access control, what is the authentication, and what is the authorization. Okay, authorization means it comes always after the authentication. Once a user authenticate him or herself, then only the system will decide that he or she is authorized for what other things they can go for that. Okay, so we need to be very clear about the access control mechanism. We need to know that in case if suppose if the access control mechanism is going to be failed, then it must fail in a secure way. If we're denying from access to the users from the some sort or from any application for any configuration, then we have to be proper mechanism for that. Okay, we need to segregate the levels of the users and the access, that for what resources, who can have access, how much they can have access, and how much level they can go for that. We need to restrict the access to the files. We need to restrict the access to the direct databases, and we need to restrict the access to the all resources which are actually not required to be allowed. We need to even control the access for the any additional like the scripts and means so many flash or something which is not required, then we may not, because maybe they can means become a source of the vulnerability. So we need to be careful about access control, about session management, about passwords, about input, about output, and there are so many other things as well. As I told you, that we are just discussing a few just for your brainstorming, so you can understand it, why we are saying. Because when we start, so someone can understand secure coding, maybe they understand, okay, there are the few things maybe we will control, but no, this is a something which has a very vast information. So going ahead, access control further, we need to restrict the direct object references. Okay, we may not allow them. We may restrict access to the services and only authorized users can be scanned. So we need to follow all of these standards. We need to follow the policies. We need to authorize the applications, that what applications are authorized up to the what level. We need to link the authorization with the authentication mechanism. So as I told you, that these all are the means critical, very critical and very important informations which we are supposed to handle, which we are supposed to means consider them. Okay, going ahead, because these things we already discussed. So further, you can see that even still for the access control, we need to limit the number of the transactions. This is also comes under the access control. What do you mean by the number of the transaction? This means if suppose we are using the financial services, so if you want to transfer your fund, maybe you will have the transaction limit. You can transfer for 3 times in a day. So you cannot means continue 4 or 5 or 6 of them a time. So this is also means indirect and direct way of managing the security. Okay, a single user or device can perform in a given period of time. Like suppose in 24 hours, how many transactions you can do. Okay, and we can check about the authorizations. We need to make sure that means authorization authentication mechanisms are okay. We need to consider about the spoofing and other challenges as well. So means these all are the things that in case if suppose they are not handling, if the user is exploiting these things, we may, what we need to do, we may means lock the accounts. We may lock the users. Okay, we may block the users or we may lock the users. Lock and lock is the different. So we may lock the user so user can means come in a proper authentication mechanism and can provide means the evidences that the user who is willing to means log in or getting the access. So that is the correct user. And there are so many other things. Okay. So otherwise, if suppose not, then we need to handle these things that how we can seize the means access of the user as well. So these all things are actually not for punishing of the user, but these all things are important to manage and maintain the security of the system. So you see that you can see that so many things what we are discussing. And if suppose these all things are important for the security, so they are a strength for our software. And at the same time, they are weakness as well in case you suppose they are not addressed properly. So see on the other side of the picture as well. And you now just notice that how many people they are means handling these all of the things. Good companies they do, but most of them they don't. That's why when you analyze, that's why when you scan, that's why when you do the penetration testing, that's why when you go for the different means even the implemented systems and webs, so you can find out a lot of the bugs and a lot of the issues in it. That is the reason. So I hope this will give you a very broad understanding about these important points. So cryptographic practices beside of the means access control, beside of the input, beside of the output, beside of the password management, beside of the session management. This is also we need to know that where we can apply these functions. Like you remember, we told you that if suppose we are receiving the passwords of the users, how we are placing in the tables. We need to apply the hashing functions so even a user may not be aware that what are the passwords. Okay, we need to protect the means master secrets from the unauthorized access, and we need to see that if suppose any cryptographic model is going to fail, then how it must be fail in a safer and secure. Okay. So you can see there is a link is given there. You can find out the further details, and you can also go to the Miss OWA's the web, and you can see resources. You remember I told you in the first week's classes that you can go and subscribe there. That's the one of the platform which is for the means entire security, and that the good thing about that is that it is all the time bringing the real world scenario, so you can have a chance to understand more about that as what you are doing in your lab sessions as well. So these all are the important informations. Most of the developers and most of the coders, they are not aware about that. This is the job of a security engineer to consider all of these things. And there are so many things. Again and again, I'm repeating this thing. Okay, there are so many things. These are the only few things we just brought in front of you just to realize you, just to give you the information, the understanding and insight about it. Now, error handling and the maintaining or managing the log files. You remember we are saying from the day first that the logs and event files, they are very critical. If they contain the unwanted information, or if they contain the direct information even, that can be means a point of exploitation for the software point of exploitation. They can help to the hackers. Okay. So in case suppose errors are coming, how errors are being handled. So the error messages are also may not be in a way from where the hacker they can get the clear understanding, and they can become a way to come inside your software. So we need to use the error handlers that do not display debugging or the extract trace information. So you remember I told you that in case of suppose you are means the user is providing the wrong password, so we are not even sharing the message directly that what you are providing wrong. You are providing wrong the email or you are providing wrong the password. No, but we have to give the information to the user that either this is or this one. This is intentionally message just to enhance the level of the security. Okay, so we need to implement the generic error messages. So that's why you remember whenever we are receiving a message, so we are saying means the receiving message are normally in the code 404, 402, 405 like that, 202 something, whatever it is. So why this is? So you understand it why this is, why these error codes are. Even when we are giving the error code, just to intimate the user, but not to give a clear picture that what and where the error is. So we need to properly free means located memories in case if suppose any error is going to happen. We need to manage all of the error handling logics which are associated with the security controls. Okay, and we need to deny if suppose the errors are there, the access controls and session and other thing, all of the things, whatever they are already assigned to the user. And we need to make sure that our log file state does not contain any severe or critical information as well. So further, we can see to ensure that a mechanism exists to conduct the log, because log files are the easy and the direct source for the hackers to get the information about your software. So we need to be means very critical. So you can see a huge checklist about the log files. So the log all input validation failures, log all authentication attempts are specifically failure, log all access control failure. Okay, log all apparent tampering events, including and everything. So you can see that how important it is, and there are means more list about that. So if suppose the user, the hacker can get the means any clue from there, the information from that, so then it can be again become harmful for us. So how we will handle that? How the coder will handle that? How these things will be handled? These things are our responsibility as a security unit. We need to manage. And how we manage that? That we need to guide to the coder, to the software unit, how they can control. So we need to handle these all things with the help of the code. So with the help of the code, these issues, errors, session management, password and password expiry, input validation, output validation, access control, authorization, each and everything we need to handle with the help of the code. So going ahead, now the data protection. Even when we finish our lecture, so you can see that we are not covering all of the aspects. We cannot cover all of the aspects. There are so many, but we are covering the most important aspects only. And for most important aspects, we are just discussing very few from the checklist. We cannot discuss each and everything. So now you can see it for the data protection, like the same for the session protection, access protection, authorization, for password and these things. So data protection is as well as the. So we need to implement the least privileges. What it mean by the least privileges? Least privileges, it means those only which are required, not more than this. We don't allow, means we need to protect all cached or the temporary copies of sensitive data which is stored on the server. We may not give it to the unauthorized access, unauthorized peoples. We need to encrypt the highly sensitive data in case if suppose someone get it, so it should be encrypted form. We need to protect from the server side sources, from downloading or getting in by the end user. So we need to take care about each and every point. So you can see the last point, that is what it's saying. Remove the comments in the user accessible production code. Even the user who can access the code, even remove the comments from it because they may not get any hint from that. Do not store the password connection strings or other sensitive information in a clear text. Okay, so these all are the important aspects and the points we need to check, we need to deploy, we need to implement with the help of the code. And we need to see what the code is written. Maybe the code itself is containing, means the information what we are trying not to be exposed. So these all are the means points that what we are going to consider. So remove the unnecessary applications and system applications, okay, which is not means useful, which is not useful. What it means, it is not required, which is not necessary for the users. Okay, and do not include any sensitive information like HTTP and the GET and other things. We need to disable autocomplete features and forms expected if suppose we are looking for security. Because otherwise autocomplete maybe become, if someone else is using the machine, auto finish, auto fill, that is, that it is means easy for everyone that they can be able to get the user's fee. These are the points what we are supposed to do. But now most of the people they don't know. Like suppose I just give you the example, okay, for the security. Most of your machine, if your machine what you're using your machine, if your machine is means in someone's control, someone can have your all of your passwords in a very means you can say less amount of time and within minutes. Whatever the things you are using in your browser, they are kept safe in the password. If suppose someone you has your machine just for a few minutes, so he or she can get your all the passwords. So that's what we mean that we need to means have the data protection and we have to have the access protection. We have to have the password management rules. We have to have the access control and authorization control and these all things. And we have to have the session management and these things. So these all things are critically important. Now going for the communication security, that's the means again another important means part of it. So we need to implement how we can means control the communication security. We need to implement the encryption. So we need to implement the HTTPS. We need to use the SSL. We need to use the TLS. And in case suppose they are going to be fail or any other issue, so again the same thing we need to make sure that they are failing in a safer way as what we discussed about the other points as well. So while we are communicating the data, communication means while we are communicating the data, we are transferring the data from the one position to the other position. So we need to make sure that each and everything, all of the points, they are safely and securely happening. So see here, the most important point is that if suppose we are coming 100%, 10% from all of the points, but if we are failing at any single point, again we are in a great trouble. So there is no room that we may be relaxed, or we may be missing, or we may be making a mistake at any stage or any phase of the SDLC. That's why we're discussing. You can see only for this secure coding standards, if suppose we are handling about access, handling about authorization, handling about input, handling about output, handling about the scripts, handling about the session management, handling about all the things what we discussed. But in case if suppose we're missing from the communication security, so what happened? Again, we will be in trouble. So each and every point is important. This is the means right message for you. And also, if we are not addressing them, if we are addressing them, this is the strength of our software. But if we are not addressing, then these become by default weaknesses of our software. So we need to consider these all things. And who will be considering? You will be considering as a security engineer, not the software developer or the coder. You are supposed to guide them so they can means consider these things. Now, system configuration ensure that servers and frameworks and components are running at the latest approved version. Operating systems are approved. Okay, and we need to turn off the directory in listening. We need to ensure that framework and system components have all the pages, whatever the updates they are coming. We need to restrict the web servers. They are process the service account to the latest means least privileges possible. And when any failure means for each of the and every step that we discussed, failure is there. So we need to be means allow the safe failure as well. So these all are the important aspects of the points that what we discussed. And we cannot finish them, to be honest, in one lecture or two lecture or three lecture. There are so many, but we can understand, we can means they can for our brainstorming, we can see that this is a very vast area. Okay, this only for the secure coding aspect. Compared to the others, what we have done, risk assessment, compared to the other secure architecture, compared to the other security mechanism, compared to the other threat modeling and other things, compared to the other mean security requirements, collections, and other, compared to other the secure design. But this itself means very huge. And these all are important because we are saying again and again that we are supposed to consider each and every aspect of software for each and every level at the phase of the SDLC. So in the system configuration, again, there are so many things. So you can see that we need to see about disable the unnecessary HTTP methods and whatever the means unnecessary versions we need to disable them. And we need to implement software which change the control system to manage the record changes. And we see the code means how we are using, how these things are. And we need to be means careful about the operating system, what we are using. And we need to see that everything is updated and patches are applied. And we need to be careful about cookies, about the get post methods, and so many things. So again and again, I'm repeating the same thing that means these are means a vast list and hundreds and thousands, but we are just considering discussing a few of them just for your means brainstorming for your better understanding. So I advise you that you can, whenever you have free time, you configure yourself means with the OWASP, and you can see that how so many things are there. You can find a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. You can find a different labs, you can find the different practices, you can find the different case scenarios, you can find the different recent attacks, what they happen. So they are not posting only that means what attacks have happened. They are posting that how it happened, what were the reasons, what were the loopholes. So you can see that they can means provide you a proper guideline. So if you wish to keep your means future or career in security, so you need to have the some of the good resources. So this OWSP could be the one of them. Okay. Now database security. Okay, that how we can. You remember a few slides back we were discussing about data protection itself. Now after the data protection, also the database security. We are aware about that and how much it's important. Okay, we need to use strongly means type the parameterized queries. Okay, we may not allow easily to access the database. We need to utilize all of the input validations and output validations. We need to ensure The variables, they are strongly typed, not loosely typed. And we use the secure credentials for the database. We use the cryptographic approaches. We use all and everything what we can, means make it sure. And we make sure that we use the connections, and we need to means close the connections after using the database as soon as possible. These all are the standards. Oh my goodness. So the time is, we are running out of time, but no problem. We can. So we are almost done. Uh, but we have to go for attendance quickly, otherwise system will be stopped. So we are almost done. So we are supposed to handle these all things which are important as well. So now you can see how these things are important. Now, just go about the database security. So we need to remove the changes, default database administrative password, and utilizing and other things. We need to see that whatever the things are there for the sample schemas and these things, they may not contain any information, necessary information, and we need to see that who is the trustworthy user who can access the database, and which are not trustworthy user, they don't have access, we may not allow that, and so on and so on. So these all are the important aspects. And then we come to the file management. So we are looking for data protection. We are looking, means we need to look in the code, secure code. Data management, we need to look for the database management. We need to look for the file management. We need to look for the communication management. We need to look for input, for output, for access, for authorization, for session. It means all of the aspects we are supposed to see. So even for a file management, individual file management, we may not pass means the user supply data directly to any dynamic function. Okay, if suppose we pass the file, we need to apply the authentication mechanism for that. We need to limit the type of the file. We may not allow all of the file the users they can be uploading. Maybe they can become a big issue for us. And the other aspects is what we are supposed to do. We're almost done. We are just trying to wind up as we can go for the tennis. I believe this is the last slide only, or a few slides more only. So these are the file management. Maybe we just go a bit faster to grab that NS. So the same thing, we need to make sure about the file management security as discussed. And then we need to means consider the memory management as well. File management, memory management, data management, database management, session management, and these all things as well. We need to means save our memory. We may not allow the memory means, and in case you suppose it's not being used, we need to control that as well. And we utilize the input and output controls to run the trusted data and so on. And we need to follow the general coding means practices as well. Okay, these all are the aspects, and as we discussed, they are not completely covered, but they are only partially, we can say it only the 5% we can see for the safe side we discussed, but there are so many things in secure coding standards are there, and we need. On top of that, the general coding practices are also there. We need to follow. But now here, you need to be careful. Like suppose if you are writing some program which has the scope, very similar scope, and it is not to be open for all of the users, then we are not supposed to means follow these all things. Then we need to see also, we need to decide what standards are suits to which software. Okay, so these all are not means supposed to be implemented to each and every software, but these are all are the general standards as well. So going ahead, just going a bit faster, you can go through with this last slide, one, two slide. So the general coding practices, that how we need to do, then how we need to take care about the things that what we discuss, how we review them, how we manage them, and how we see the data types and everything, so on and so on. So again, thanks to the OWASP, which is the means the Open Web Application Security Project. It's not only for the secure software; it is for the security. So as I mentioned to you, that you will find each and everything related information which is security, either secure software, either network security, communication security, data security, SQL, whatever means related to the security, you can find the things from there. So I can suggest you that you can means visit that, because they have the live industrial data. And that's what you are doing, your assessment. That's what you are doing, your labs. That's what you are doing, your tutorials. They all are means based on the live industry-based approach. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you are most welcome. Meanwhile, I can go for attendance because if we left less than that missed attendance, then system will not allow us to go for the attendance. So I quickly just try to log in the system as we are in the system. So please let me know if you have a question. For attendance, we need to stop